Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Shadow and Sun Show, and welcome for another one-on-one. Me and Doc. Doc's going to tell us all about his brand new game, Age of Blood and Iron. Sorry about the typo earlier, guys, but I was a little rushed. I had to get something else done before the show. So, how you doing, Doc?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
So, a couple of questions.
Mhm.
Well, actually, a whole bunch of questions. First, where can people find your game?
It is PDFs are on available on drive-through, and print versions, paperback and softcover, are available on Amazon, which I'm not allowed to talk about on drive-through. I got yelled at for
Okay,
that.
I would tell them things, but I'm not in that position to do so.
Yeah,
Uh,
I mentioned it in the discussions.
geez.
That they
Uh,
went through and they took it out because I had a link originally, and then they went like and sent me a nasty little note of
so
what
how
they
are your
were.
sales, if
What's
you
that?
don't mind? How are your
Uh,
sales?
they're modest at this point. The one thing I've gotten a lot of, I did a basically pay what you want version, like a super cheapy, like 50 digest page, which is just the very basic rules.
Okay,
A lot of people have picked that up. I've moved about 250 of those.
nice.
Uh,
That's actually pretty good.
yeah, the
In
print
our
books I've
niche,
probably sold like 40 something at this point, and yeah, about that.
that's not too shabby if you're
Uh,
asking the right price. You know.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. So how long did it from start to finish did it take you to write this?
From conception to print was about 6 months.
That's not bad. That's not bad at
Yeah,
all. That's
a lot
actually
of it, a lot of stuff I recycled from an older game I had done. We just converted it into the new system, so I had a bit of a head start on it.
okay, but
But
still,
yeah, it
six
was
months is 6 months is not bad. Um, any thoughts
autism
of
powers activate.
any thoughts of doing a Kickstarter to boost the sales or anything like that?
I've thought about it. I don't really know much about it. I know most people generally do it to get the game published. I was thinking about maybe doing one just like to cover advertising to do that.
Hmm.
I got to look into that. Talk to some people who have actually run
Okay.
Kickstarters. I know there's a lot of those are starting to dry up too now. People are there have been a lot of very unsavory characters who have done Kickstarters, and
Yeah,
people are
yeah,
getting a
yeah.
little more gun shy
You
about.
know, I that's really weird because I have yet to not have a Kickstarter come through. I've backed probably 50 to 100 of them easy over the years. Not had I've had some really long delays, which even some of the
Yeah,
biggest
that
companies
happens.
have that, especially during the pandemic. Um, and I just did a review of the Red Room's Savage Swords, and there's a couple of similarities. But I was wondering because I had asked Miguel about this. Any thoughts of doing your own like world setting?
Oh yeah, I plan to do several. I want to do one that's based like a mytho historical version of ninth century Britain, which is what I'm running right now in on my live streams on my channels every
Okay.
2 Sundays. I want to do a medieval Japan one. I want to do a western, and I have an old campaign that I ran for years and years and years that I still have all my notes on. I'm going to do a big, thick version on that with
Okay.
lots of
Well,
maps
not
and
too
fun stuff.
thick. You scare off
Yeah.
some of the uh, some of the folks
Yeah,
out
but
there.
that's one of the things I want to do because I don't believe in like additions. I mean, I might add years down the line a companion because there's some rules that I didn't include just because it was getting crowded. So if I get enough of those, I might do something like that. But mainly, I'm just gonna it's basically in its finished form, barring some errata issues, and I'm just gonna put out campaign books from there on.
Okay. You mentioned Western. What's up, Mac? Hey, Justin. What's happening?
Hey, Mac Purr, Justin, Orc Child.
But who's the daddy? Yeah. You should ask Double D if you could do a little thing on his show as well. I'm sure you've done some others, right?
Yeah, I've Dungeon Delver is gonna and I are gonna do something to be determined within the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
I might do some with Bear, and I've sent Lord Mattias, I believe. Adamos gave him a copy of the books, and he said he was gonna do a review on it. And I've sent a couple other copies out. I'm not directly asking anybody for reviews. I'm just kind of giving the books. If you like it, I'd be very happy if you do something
What's up,
with it.
Coco Emperor? Okay, now
Hey,
you
Coco.
mentioned Western real quick. What do you mean by
Mhm.
that?
Oh, I loved playing Western games. I played Boot Hill a lot when
Okay.
I was
Oh,
young, and I really like the setting. And it's a fairly easy conversion. You just got to add the
okay.
guns
Okay.
basically.
Let me know when that's out. I want a copy.
Oh,
I'll,
absolutely.
I'll, I'll pay my way. You were kind enough to send me this one. Least you could do is let me pay for the next one. Um, yeah, yeah. Please do, Cal. That would be fantastic. If you post the link in Double D's show, that would be fantastic. I hope you'll do the same thing when Justin and I get our cop game out. But and Justin says, "Where the hell is his copy?" It's over 900 pages, so he knows you won't read it. But yeah, I really enjoyed a lot of it. I'm going to be honest. I'm not a historical guy, but I could see
Mhm.
how you could take it and do whatever you want with.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
It's mainly it's open to any interpretation. It's one of the reasons I wanted to concentrate kind of on the Middle Ages, that most like fantasy games kind of purport to be medieval based, but they're really much more Bronze Age in tone. You have polytheistic pantheons, separated city states, large unexplored wilderness areas, tombs from forgotten civilization. It's actually much more heroic age. So I wanted to include a lot of information on, say, an actual medieval style campaign, because I think it's largely underserved, even though that's kind of counterintuitive to think about it. But it can be used for any sort of game. There's not a strict setting in it.
Right, I did notice that because to be totally fair, I went into the first book and I'm like, "What the hell's all the magic, man? This ain't for me." And then I looked at the next book and I went, "Oh, okay." And
There's
and
a
I can see
ton of
why you
magic.
yeah, I can see why you did it the way you did, because you could clearly market it to a lot of Fritz's friends because they do a lot of historical stuff, and if they want a second one and they
Yeah.
want magic,
I'm
cool.
also working on an omnibus version, which is going to be much smaller, like traditional 10-point type in columns, where the
Yeah, because
whole thing can be fit in like a 500-page volume. So
yeah, that
that'll
was one of
that'll
the things
eventually come
I
out.
did. I was kind of not thrilled about with was the formatting. There was a lot of white where I would rather have art
Yeah, I
or.
wanted to do
or
a big print one because I'm an old bastard and my eyes
I,
are
I,
going.
I, as I was reading that, I was like, "Hey, I don't need my readers for this." Okay, I see why he did this. Because let's face it, most people in this hobby, despite what certain people would have you think, are guys like you and me
Hmm.
and what have you. So I got to ask another question. With all the games out there, um, why did you need to make a game?
Uh, it's kind of like I also write novels. Those are going to be coming out soon. Basically, for the same reason, I could never. I love a lot of games. I never found the exact game I wanted to play. So I figured I would do it.
Okay, okay.
Plus, I love messing with stuff that I made myself. I was a huge like Lego maniac when I was a kid. That was my favorite thing in the world. Was
Oh
just
shit!
around with
Sorry,
my
Justin.
Legos.
Thanks, man. Space. I left this up here long enough. You are correct. So, you've been in this hobby for a good long time, right?
Yeah, I first played D&D in 1980. I was
Okay.
11 years old. I was playing with 15 and 16-year-olds. They were very hesitant to let me in the game initially, but I was insistent, and they're like, "Oh, yeah,
And and and
his
and
head's in this."
local boy makes good.
Yeah.
So what were your earliest in inspirations for gaming?
Well, obviously, Dungeons and Dragons was a big early inspiration. I was a huge fan when I found Traveller,
I
because
can
I
see that.
loved the life path system, which to a great extent I modeled mine on, just because that was the funnest game for me ever to make characters in.
It,
I
it
would just
still
sit there
is. It
and
still
make
is.
characters.
Although there is a good second that's called Mutant Chronicles, the original
I've
was.
heard about that. I need to look at that. Yeah,
It's a
people have been
two
telling me
year.
about
It's
it.
a 2 year increment, and they're a little more in depth in what happens each 2 year increment. And literally one of the only IPs I would ever run of somebody else's. Otherwise, the control freak in me says, "No, I got to do my own."
Yeah.
So, since you mentioned Traveler, um, obviously you loved Traveler. Who didn't? I really don't know anybody who didn't, other than people who weren't really into sci-fi, which
Yeah.
um, is can't be you know you can't criticize people for not liking what you like. Just find the folks that do, and you know keep them at your table. So, are you running this currently?
I am currently running a game. It's every other Sunday. We're doing this Sunday, in fact. We're going to be doing our 12th session, I believe.
Okay.
And I've got 5 players. My normal comfort zone is 4, but Coco asked to join, and I love playing with Coco to death. So I was like, I'll work with him for that, no problem at all. And it's been a really good group so far. We've been having a lot of fun, lots of violence.
Anybody else in it that we might know?
Coco's in it, Per, Atomos.
Uh,
Valor Blaster is a guy we play with. I don't see him a lot on the YouTube
yeah,
channel.
those are a couple of.
And
Uh,
oh my God, who am I
there's a couple
missing?
of names I'm not familiar with.
Per,
The '80s
Coco.
were absolutely the
Oh, and
damn near the
Melkor.
best.
I'm sorry,
That's a
what?
name I haven't heard in a while. Those are absolutely some of the
Oh,
best
it's a great
eras for
group.
games. Oh,
They're
the
a
'80s. I
fantastic
was
group.
referring to the '80s.
Oh,
It's just a fabulous group. Yeah, and my Traveler game is on Saturday. Sorry, Mac. I absolutely love Traveler. It's easily in my top three all time favorite games. Just everything about it. But again, the life path is. I'm really surprised more people haven't borrowed that idea
yeah.
over the
I think a lot
years.
of games are shy about complex character creation. I think they worry it'll turn people off, but
It's not that
I never
hard. I
felt
mean,
that way. Yeah,
it's not that hard.
it's not complicated.
And it's the ideal tool to let the players create the kind of character they truly want. You know, I don't know about you, but I'm sick to death of running the zero to hero. Can I just
Mhm.
start out at like better than mediocre? Can I do that? Is that a thing, or is that going to break your game? Which the answer is usually yes. And uh, there's so many games that like Palladium, for example. They just especially Rifts and some of the other games. They just you know there is no equality amongst characters. Nobody cares. If
Yeah.
you want to run this, they want to run that. Okay, cool. Just when shit gets hairy, get behind a rock. You'll be
Yeah.
fine. Get a helmet.
Exactly. And I can get into a level based game now and then. I mean, there are definitely some that I enjoy playing, but there's something about adding a degree of verisimilitude to it as well. Where
Sure.
this is the character. I don't feel like you need like it's not a video game. You don't need the dopamine hits of like leveling up
Some
and gaining
people
stuff in
really
a
do,
tabletop game.
and having played a slew of both kinds, I could see why they're still popular,
Mhm.
and they do feed into that addictive personality. But with games like Traveler and your game, you can still, from what I gather, you can play the Luke Skywalker, the Han Solo, and the Obi-Wan in the same starting first session, and it's not going to break the game, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you can through various means increase the level. Yeah, in fact, you can even simulate a level system just by handing out character points
Mm.
to edit in. So I mean, it there's a lot of room to customize it how you want. And that was the other big thing. I wanted a game that was at its very core very simple, but you could add on as much
Yeah, I
complexity as
noticed that
you wanted.
it seems daunting at first. Even the core book here, it's pretty thick, but a lot of it is stuff that I mean, seriously, you can take out.
Yeah, it's easily half optional rules.
Right. Well, not only half optional, but things you may never get to.
Yeah, oh,
If you're
absolutely. A lot of things are covered that you won't necessarily need just because I'm very completionist in that way. And like, for instance,
and
there's a whole section on like natural disasters and how to handle them, which you may
or
never need,
or
but
siege combat
yeah,
or castles and fiefdoms and things like that you may never get to, but it is actually nice to find uh, a single book that's all you will literally ever need. Yours is two, but if you condense it down for the other version for those kind of people, uh, wow, Justin. People who need participation points are liberal gay children. Yeah, the participation.
Impolitic, but not inaccurate.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with earning a reward, but requiring it to get to the table, no, that the ability to be someone else for a short period of time and to do things that you yourself could never ever freaking do, like get inside a spaceship or go back to a medieval world and get into some sword fights and not die in the first stabbing, is should be reward enough. You get to literally create the ultimate part in a movie that you get to be the star of, or at least in your own head canon.
Yeah, absolutely. And rewards can take on so many different forms. Just whether, like items, equipment, advancement socially within, the world, the game world, like climbing the social ladder, that could easily stand in for things like that. So you need to be creative.
Okay, let's dive into this one because this one answers a whole or asks a whole bunch of questions that I don't have to actually ask. Uh, but Doc's new game, what makes this one different than say Baptism of Fire, Conan, or AD&D, or Chivalry and Sorcery? Well, most of Modifius's games, I can tell you right off the bat, have too much back and forth metagaming going on that for me ruin every aspect of the attempt to at immersion. When you're looking at a stack of chips on either side, trying to build up points so that you can do this thing, whether it's individually or as a group, watching the DM doing the same thing and playing toward increasing those stacks of gimme points. Uh, it's just no. That's a board game. That's
Yeah,
not
this is
that's not a
this
role
is
play.
a very hardcore simulationist game. It's as much
Hang with them,
verisimilitude as
nerds.
possible within the context of a game.
A long time no see, nerds. It's been like forever.
Oh, hey
Uh,
nerds,
and
what's up?
and Justin and I expect to die every game. That way we can hurry up and start playing another game. Because if I die, game's over, right? I'm kidding. I can make up a new character in like a minute. Um, like let's take like for example, I know nothing of Baptism of Fire. Have you read it?
I own it. I gave it a quick read through. It's very much it's a D&D kind of takeoff at its heart. It's very married to its setting, and it's good for that. It's got an
Um,
interesting leveling system in that you get more or less random improvements as opposed to big jumps at each level. So, and it's not a bad game at all. I will remain silent on the creator.
I know nothing
Uh,
of either. To be honest, I know nothing other than what I've heard from BM James, which he had that period of time where he would not stop talking about it.
yeah,
I,
that's it's right up James's alley because he loves that time, that area and that time in history. Yeah, it's not a bad game at all, but it's still when you come down to it, it's a D&D clone,
And
and
as
it
for D&D, your game is not a experience points class based
no,
system. Your game is 2d6, not a d20.
yes,
Which
two d
personally, I
six.
think that the numbers should not matter. I really don't like the bell curve mechanics. I find they actually skew things in the favor of mediocrity as opposed to everything having an equal chance, which is what people want. I think, hence why the D20 has been so popular because the D20 is no different than a D10 or a percentile based
Yeah, it's
system.
basically a modified percentile system.
And instead of having to chase instead of having to chase two dice off the table when they fall, you only have to chase the D20. It's bigger and easier to find, so it's got that going for it. And I know nothing of chivalry and sorcery. I was invited to a couple of games at the shop that I used to work at, but I never felt the urge because at the time I was really never one. I was never a big Arthurian fan, and two, I really didn't know much about the sort of historical aspects of it. All my experience was, D&D fantasy stuff. So I could see where you were shooting for a more historically accurate. Um, so why that? Is it just a
Uh,
love of history, or
it's absolutely. I'm a big history fan, especially that period. But also, I just always really just enjoyed things that seemed very grounded. I love my realism in a game. You know, it, insofar as it can be realistic. When you're killing dragons and goblins and whatnot.
Mhm.
But I like very brutal combat. I grew up in the old school Dungeons and Dragons where you avoided combat pretty much if you could do it. It was more about the role play, and it was about tactics and working your way through a situation, and where combat was largely a fail state. Although I loves me some good bloody visceral combat as well. And I love mass combat. A lot of my games tend to include a lot of that. I'm big into the warfare. It's one of the things I'm doing with my campaign right now. They're actually like the officers in a large mercenary company that they're having to keep funding and operate and add to.
Yeah, I've had hit and miss success with that sort of thing. Many players absolutely will up and leave a game if you go to war and they get called into any sort of service other than their own desires,
Yeah.
and other people who really want to be in that sort of a situation where they're on the literal front lines. Um, how does your game handle that?
So far everybody, it's been pretty good. I'm very much I'm like a halfway. I mean, I'll let the characters do absolutely anything I want. The way I handle it is I keep my planning very, very loose until I have a bead on what they want to do, and then I'll start. Okay, this is where they're heading, so then I start working around that. I let them set the tone and pick the direction, but if you're in sync with your players, you get an idea fairly quick what they're interested in, what they want to pursue, and then you can start building on from there.
Okay, well, like in terms of combat, do you just sort of role play it out? You just tell them what the individual characters see, or do you have them commanding large groups of troops? Uh,
Well, most of these combats they've gotten into have been fairly small scale with most of the party. There have been a few big battles. Uh, I try to sprinkle those around a little more conservatively, so it doesn't get out of hand. But we had a big siege defense that they ran. I think it was on episode 6 or 7. Everybody got hugely into that. We had a lot of fun. They did very well. They made some very smart decisions. So it's kind of like with monsters. I would say that with monsters and like dungeon style games, I like to use them very sparingly
mhm,
so that they have some impact when they happen, and it just doesn't become kind of this like Star Wars Cantina madhouse. Which I mean, it's a fine thing to do if your party's into that. I
sure.
like it to be a lot more grounded, have kind of an underlying theme that they're
Yeah,
working toward.
I've been reading a lot of Conan lately, and I noticed that it's there's like one monster per story, and that's it. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
that
and Howard was the master of that. He understood, combat is really visceral and exciting in a movie. In text, it's a little tedious. So you got to be like just punchy, get it through, it's done. And that's the excitement of it. You can't with a lot of like new fantasy authors, like you'll read them and there's just this blow by blow, and he does this and he goes over to the side, and it's just like, oh my God, I can't even keep track of what's going on here.
Yeah, even as much as I love Howard, he too can get repetitive at times,
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely.
and that's why I've taken to Savage Sword of Conan lately, so I don't have to. I just see it, I don't have to.
Yeah.
I don't have to hear the description of Conan every single time. I just see it. Um, so let's see if we got any other questions in here that I missed. Right, Mac, of course. And it was, gosh, you think about it, it's almost 100 freaking years ago that he was doing what he
Yeah.
did, and we're still, loving every bit of it. Um,
Oh, absolutely. And the pastiches never really measured up.
so what were some of your like literary influences when it came to writing this?
Oh, definitely Howard above all others. But I also really loved Fritz Leiber, uh,
Top five
Tolkien,
favorite as
of
well.
course.
Who? I'm sorry.
Tolkien, of course.
Oh, of course, of course. That almost goes
Rutger
without.
Zelazny, big fan of his.
He was such a great guy. But even he didn't really do almost anything except one story. Even the Amber doesn't qualify as anything near what we do. Um, I was going to ask, what about any Arthurian or
Oh
Charlemagne?
yes, read Morte de Arthur in seventh grade. That's to a great extent what really set me off on the
Really?
whole. It was yeah, just I was
Okay.
blown
I'm
away
not really
by Mallory.
surprised, but there's a lot of uh, 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 different King Arthur books out there. I've got
Oh yeah, there
half a
you.
dozen, and that was my first as well. Um, but Charlemagne, no.
I read Charlemagne much later. I got very into that. That I was actually brought into Charlemagne when I got to my huge obsessive poetry phase, and I
Okay,
decided to discover epic poetry, and I got into the Song of Roland, and
now, I've got to find my book. I know I have it somewhere, and I never finished it. And I really feel that that's one of the few missing stones
oh,
in my world.
it's a great story. It'd be interesting the whole clerics not using edged weapons largely comes from the bishop in the Song of Roland, who makes it. And the funny thing about it is he's making like sick black joke when he says it. They ask him why he carries this gigantic mace. They're like, "Oh, I am a holy man. I don't want to shed blood." And he's like the psycho
Mhm.
of the paladins. So it was like, and everybody laughed. So it was like kind of like a dark joke he's actually making, and then that kind of wormed its way into
As
D&D.
if
I
if
always thought
you've
that was
ever
funny.
hit yourself with a hammer, even
Yeah,
just a thumb, you will definitely bleed. Just saying.
yeah.
Uh,
You're
uh,
not being nice hitting somebody with a big lump of metal.
no, especially when you look at some of those flanged maces. Mac, it's a 2d6 system. Other dice or more dice are used from time to time, correct?
All D6s throughout the entire game.
But I mean more
Nothing
than
else.
two.
Uh, well, for a lot of some of the tables, you will use three or four.
Okay.
But basically, all character actions basically come down to two types of rolls: either a success roll, which is hit
Yes.
7 or above on 2d6 with modifiers up and down, or a direct like an opposed roll contest where it's 2d6 plus your bonus and then compare. So basically, anything the characters are going to do are going to be resolved by one of those two things. It's actually, despite it's a huge amount of material there to deal with almost any situation, but the game systems themselves are very, very simple. The basic game system fits in this basically, minus all the
Okay. So
optional
so with the
rules.
with the 2d6, why?
I just have an affection for them on one hand, but also I like the smaller number range, and because a plus one means something, plus two means a lot, plus three
Mhm.
is huge, and you keep the modifier numbers very low this way, so it's just you're only adding a couple things within a
And
very small range, and it goes
there are
quickly.
some games where the low numbers on that die pool, if you will, are kind of meaningless, but in others, it really does make a huge difference. And I noticed you picked seven as your target number. Now there are difficulties applied to that target number from time to time.
Yeah, typically you're dealing with modifiers either up or down from +1 to +5. I mean, they could potentially go higher, but that's basically the range you're dealing in any given situation.
Mhm.
So, or you have modifiers of up to, they rarely go over +3 for like very simple things, but basically you're at +5 to -5. Everything's going to fall into.
Okay, now I was looking at some things earlier this week. Um, I think it was God, what's his name? It'll come to me. But he was talking about when you have people roll, like like very easy and easy tasks, do you still have them roll? And what would you consider the easiest task you might have them roll on?
Hmm. Let's see. Well, if it's just like, for instance, if the person is basically competent at a thing, they're not doing it under a stressful situation. Yeah, you did it. Like, if you've got a decent climbing skill and you're climbing the cliff, I'm probably not going to make you roll on it. It's real windy, it's raining, you're probably going to make a roll on it. Things
Okay,
are
something
chasing
as
you.
simple as getting on one's horse.
No, no, I would never do something like that unless they were drunk.
Okay,
Then
because
I might make them roll for it. Sure.
I spent a lot of time around horses, and I could see where some people would argue that you're going to roll every time. Uh,
Well, if it's like a character who doesn't know how to ride, then I might make them do it. I might give them a hard time about it. Or I might, sometimes I might just give me a general roll. We'll see how this goes. Oh, would you get a 5? It takes you a while. It takes you a while to do it. It keeps running away from you. It
okay,
almost kicks you in the head,
okay,
bites at
but
you.
nothing
This horse
is
sticks.
nothing as mundane as putting on your armor or tying your shoes or anything like that.
No, nothing like. The only time I would ever call a roll for something like that, if it was done under stress and you were having to do something at abnormally high speed, then I might make you do something like that. But for the most part, if it's not doesn't serve a dramatic purpose, there's and you know it's not the outcome ultimately isn't really in doubt. I'm not going to make somebody roll.
Okay,
Make people roll when it counts.
what about the reverse of that, where you will tell them you just can't do it,
Oh, I'll definitely tell people that. I'll tell people that all the time.
even though they've got everything stacked up in their favor, but it's still a 50-yard leap kind of thing.
Oh yeah, it's like I'll just tell them no, that's not feasible. Your high skill tells you that this isn't going to work. I'll basically let them know.
Uh,
Although I mean, I will let people do stupid things if they insist upon. I remember in a D&D game I was running years back, we had a kid who's like, I'm going to teleport into that forest. Okay, it's very far away. You've never actually been there. And my understanding, he's like, yeah, 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 and he teleported into the middle of a tree and exploded. And then his next character decided to collect the remains and put them in a sack, and then marched off to the city. I said, I let him, there's customs guys there. They're going through people's stuff. He's like, okay, you've got a bloody sack full of body parts. You understand that, right? Oh, yeah, yeah. Okay. That didn't work out too well either. So I mean, I'll let the players be as stupid as they want. I just let them know early on that there are consequences to decisions.
so before we start rolling up a character, I want to ask a couple more mechanics questions. Tell us about your hit points and how you do that.
Hit points. There's basically it's those are going to be static. There is a skill that you can take that will beef them up a bit, but it's mostly just based on your size and your stats, and there are quirks that will bring them up or down depending on what you take. They're pretty good. An average person, like dead average person, will have about 20 hit points. You could get yourself to 50. You'd have to kind of build the character around doing that to get it that high. Uh, Weapons will do anywhere from the base damage is usually 1d6 for like small weapons, knives, daggers, 2d6 for your basic melee weapons, 3 for pole arms and the heavy stuff, and then there's bonuses for strength and things like that. So you can die in a hit, and there's also a critical system. Basically, for a medium-sized person, you take 10 points in one shot. You're rolling on the critical table, which is 50-50 chance you're going to get hurt and take some penalties, but be okay. You can be one-shotted. Armor is super, super important in the game. And
That was my next question. How does that work?
basically, every type of armor has three factors, three damage reductions. One for cutting, one for piercing, and one for blunt.
Okay.
And so basically, if you're coming up with a very heavily armored opponent, somebody's decked out in plate, and all you've got is a sword, you're actually in some trouble because
As it
it's
should
going
be.
to be taking 15 points off that right off the bat, assuming it's just standard. There's can also
Is
be
that
bonuses.
per like impact or attack, or is that
That
just
is per hit. So
so
you
you could effectively be doing no damage
yeah,
for
you'll be doing very
multi
small
rounds?
damage and very low chance of inflicting a critical wound. Although there is a system for if you're using very small weapons like knives, where you can take a penalty to hit for double damage. Basically, you're making a point of going for the soft spots and the
Hmm.
gaps. But yeah, basically, if you're sufficiently protected, you don't have to worry over much about certain things. This is why it becomes also very useful to have multiple weapon types on you. You're going to want a hammer or mace on you if you come across somebody in heavy armor.
And that as a, is excuse me a more realistic approach than probably just about 90% of the games out there.
Yeah,
Uh,
most games don't even bother with it. Touches just straight damage reduction for everything. But I was never happy with that. When I first designed it, I actually had this layered system where you're wearing your jerkin and then you're wearing the mail and then and that was fun and
I hate
all,
to
but
admit,
then
I did that as well back in the day, and I learned that, believe it or not, from Traveler, because you had your reflect on under everything else, and then you might have this on, and then you might have an ablative suit so that it could just get blasted off, and it like in the old mech games where certain pieces of armor would just fall off as they became useless, or your missile launcher was empty. You just drop that. You don't need it anymore. It's
yeah, and
just
then it got to the point where okay, so I now have to make all the combinations because they're all going to add up to each other in the three different categories because I was still
which
doing
I
that.
believe is what Gary was subconsciously shooting for back in the day, but didn't really want to do the armor has hit points thing.
Yeah.
Do Can your armor eventually fall off from it being beaten to pieces?
There is a system for that. There's item survival which you can use on armor. Basically, I wouldn't do it
I
during
care for.
combat because that would slow things down, but it can be used after to see if it's been damaged, and will reduce armor factors there. Yeah, I abandoned the layered thing once I decided I had to make a list of every combination. It went on for like 8 pages. I wasn't done. I was like, you know what? This is a bad idea.
It would be fine in a video game, and
Yeah,
you would never
it would
tell
work
them.
great in that.
But yeah, we humans, we don't think as fast as we think we do,
Yeah.
and that would
One thing I'm
just
interested in
all the
seeing if
table.
happens, because the way VTTs work now, I'm interested in if somebody's going to make a game specifically for VTT use, because that could have insanely crunchy rules if they were all automated. So I'm interested because so far it seems like there's a market for something like that, but so far nobody's bit. If I ever bother to learn Foundry, I may make a conversion of this for that.
So I'm guessing you're more a fan of the crunchier peanut butter. Is that what you're saying?
I like it fairly crunchy. I like it pretty crunchy. I mean, it needs to move smoothly above all,
Mhm.
which is why I like you know the layered optional rules in the combat system, so you can just kind of add them on. Uh, we're using all the optional rules basically in my campaign now, and I mean, I obviously know them very well because I wrote them. So, but we'll get through combats involving like 5 players and as many enemies in 20 minutes at most. So I mean,
Okay,
it
that's not too
runs
bad.
very quickly once you have the hang of it, and also have a system where almost all the weapons have multiple attack types. For instance, a sword you can cut, stab, or you make a
Um,
blunt attack with. And I have a system where you get bonuses. Like the first time you use the secondary attack, you get a bonus. The first time you use the tertiary attack, you get a bonus. You get one for like shield attacks or mixing in hand to hand. And then if you go 3 turns without using a particular attack, you get a +1. That takes a little time to get used to, but once you're like
sort of
learning
like
this,
uh, feints and parries, that kind of thing.
absolutely, because that's the other thing. Playing because I love playing fighter types in games. That's always been my favorite thing in fantasy,
Okay.
and I always wanted them to have a little more choice. I wanted them to be a little. You got to make decisions and
Hmm.
decide what you're doing. So I wanted to add something like that, and it takes a little getting used to. But once it clicks, that comes very quickly. Just okay. This time I'm gonna cut. This time I'm gonna stab. And
Okay.
if you do it carefully, you can rack up some bonuses while you do it.
Okay. So we've kind of talked about the fighting, the punching, the stabbing, the kicking, that sort of thing. Um, for me, the more important than that is recovery against that. How do you heal?
Healing takes place over time. It takes quite a while to heal. We had one character who got basically down, who had one or two minor critical wounds, which were like a week or two to heal those. His hit points took him about 2.5 weeks to recover. And there's some potions, but they're kind of realistic potions where they just like they'll increase your healing rate over time. It's
Mhm.
none of this, glug 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 and Popeye. You can
Yeah,
do
I
that
am
stuff
rather
with
fond of the Popeye method, but that's because I'm an adrenaline junkie and I want to
yeah.
get
Well,
back
you can do
into.
that using the magic rules. There's ways to do it that way with the magic rules, but otherwise, you can take a long time to recovery, especially if you wind up with more serious critical wounds. They're basically in 5 levels. A first level would be like minor, like hairline fracture, bad bruising, things like that. The level fives are the area hit is
Mhm.
destroyed, which if it happens to your head, neck, or torso is an instant kill.
Sure.
And they can basically take a number of weeks to reduce based on the level. So you got a level 4. In 4 weeks, it's going to be a 3. In 3 weeks, it's going to be a 2. In another 2 weeks, it's going to be a 1, and a week to heal from that. So if you get seriously injured, you could be laid up for quite some time.
Hmm. Which I imagine, unless the party is decently armored, that's gonna always be the case.
Oh yeah, if you get into fights without any armor, you're going to get messed up, and you're probably going to get killed, unless you're like
So
keeping out of it because you're archery or you're being protected because you're using magic. If you're using the magic rules, yeah, you run into an actual combat with big heavy weapons and you're unarmored, you get hit, you're going to get messed up badly.
oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't think most people uh, realize just how fragile we are. We're nothing like what we've ever read or seen in TV, the movies and books and
Yeah,
things like that.
we're
That's all.
basically big sacks of water with some sticks to hold us in shape.
Yeah, yeah. Which is why some of these games are so appealing is that we get to not be that somehow.
Yeah.
So how does your like spell like healing work?
Okay. The way the basic healing spell works is you basically can reduce damage. The base is 1 per turn, although there are ways to increase that by increasing the difficulty. And it will start with blood loss if you're bleeding. It'll reduce that by 1 point per turn every turn, and then
Mhm.
it'll start doing the damage. But you have to maintain the spell until you actively decide to stop it. If you're interrupted, like you get hit, somebody stops you, before you declare the spell over, you've undone the entire thing and all the damage comes back.
Oh, that sucks. That
I'm
sucks. You're
mean.
mean.
I'm a mean bastard.
Hey,
Got to protect the medics, dude.
considering the game changer your armor rules are compared to most games I've ever seen, uh, just get a helmet, you know, and if not one, get several, hand them out, and then get some chainmail and some big heavy plates, big ugly bags of mostly water, right?
Oh, absolutely. And then there's if there's permanent wounds, there's special higher end spells that will deal with that. I get very into disease. I love giving people the plague. It's one of the great joys of my
I was for a minute there. I thought you were going somewhere else, but I'm
life. You
glad
get
you
scared.
didn't.
Oh, you can do that if you want. I didn't include those in the disease list because I didn't want the headache. That'll be in the companion.
Was that a
An
euphemism
entire page
there?
of social diseases.
Was that a euphemism? Because you never mind. Um, yeah, that's something. Apparently, Conan was born with a certain immunity.
Yeah,
Because
most definitely in that kind of
that guy,
environment.
that guy, that guy knew how to party. I'm just saying. Um, and to to go off topic, I am really surprised that that his family did not absolutely just chastise the living hell out of him for what he was writing between the lines so many instances. Maybe they just
Oh yeah,
didn't
oh
get
yeah.
it.
His dad was like a very upright, proper like country doctor. The
Yeah.
mother was like apparently came from old money. Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't. Although apparently he was very well respected in his town. He was like from the time he was a young kid, he was like always being very
He was
helpful. It was
actually uh,
he was a good dude.
he was and he was actually I want to highlight that, but I'm not. Um, he was I just read a big chunk of his biography recently, and he was bringing in some serious money on a monthly basis
Oh yeah, he was
for
making
his
more than his father was. He was doing better than his father, the
and
doctor.
even during the depression, he would be considered pretty damn wealthy.
Yeah, he did.
Because
He did very well for himself, and I think he was respected enough in the town by the time he got famous that people kind of overlooked some of some of the spicier stuff that was going on. It was kind of like,
Mhm, mhm.
oh, Robert, kind of thing. And I don't know if you ever saw it. It's on YouTube. I actually bought it on YouTube. They're the whole wide world. They made a film biography
Yeah, I've always
of
wanted to
Robert E.
see that.
Howard. I was a little annoyed by it. I
Yeah,
mean,
I
I
can
like that
understand.
they did it, but they kind of played into oh, he's this like crazy weirdo dude, and that wasn't really
No,
his
he
reputation.
was.
He
I
was
mean,
certainly eccentric, and I think
right, but he
everybody
was
in
nowhere
town
near
knew
the
that.
teetotaler that Lovecraft was,
Yeah,
and yeah, you would never if you passed him on the street, you would have never picked out anything unusual about him.
yeah. I mean, he was eccentric, definitely. He had some odd habits, but I mean, he wasn't kind of like the crazy weirdo of the town everybody was scared
Right.
of that they
Whereas,
kind of made him out to
like
be.
Lovecraft, you'd see him walking down the street and be like, "All right, keep it cool."
Yeah.
Lovecraft was a seriously odd duck. It is. Thanks, Justin. So let's say we break out the old index card and
Absolutely.
pretend like I've never read it, even though I have, because you know I have, because I criticize so many aspects of your game. Uh,
Get some light going on here. I got my rules open beside me.
and real quick, while you're doing that, uh, were there any points of contention with my previous video that you thought I missed the point or anything like that, or
Oh
uh,
well,
freaking
the only thing I would say on the tri-stat system, the three stats are very limited if you take them just as they are. For instance,
Mhm.
like body is everything physical, but it's really the game is meant to be more to measure a combination of the stats and then the quirks. The quirks are super important. For example, the body could cover like strength, endurance, health, speed, agility, and all those things. And
Right.
there is at least 4 to 6 for each of those aspects, up and down modifiers you can take that affect that specifically. And the reason I went with that instead of more stats is one, I just thematically liked mind, body, and spirit, but
Okay.
also this way you have a lot more control over the specific ways that you're for instance, if I had several stats for all those, you might wind up with the character who's strong as a bull but gets winded if he runs 20 feet and is going to die if he catches a cold. So I didn't want that much randomness. I wanted you to be able to decide all of that on your own by the quirks you picked. So the two systems working together is basically.
Wow, Travis. Thanks. I think, but not really. Um, so let me get this straight then. If you were okay, one, do you roll your stats down the line or three dice and put them where you want?
Well, it depends on there's the four power levels, and
Mhm.
basically this is commoners. Then you is just a normal person, and in that case, two d6 3 times, put them where you want, and that's
Mhm.
what you got. And then there's no character points. You can get them by taking negative quirks or giving up stat points if you want, but you don't start with any. Then
Mhm.
you have exceptional, and this is basically generally where a normal character for a fantasy game. would fall into this, the exceptional category. And this, you roll 2d6 6 times, take the highest three results that you want, put them where you want, and then you get 5 points to work with. You move up to extraordinary, and this is where you start getting to like the literary heroes, like that. Most of the Arthurian knights would fall in here.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the Celtic heroes, Finn McCool and Cuchulainn and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
would fall into a lot of the Odysseus and Jason, like the Greek. Most of the Greek myths would fall into here. And in this case, you roll 2d6 9 times, take the three best, and you have 10 points. And these are going to be like really exceptionally. These are going to be the best people you're normally going to find. And then I have one last mighty category, and this is where you get into like Achilles and Beowulf and Hercules and things like that. In this case, you're going to roll 2d6 plus 2, 12 times, take the best three, and you're going to get 15 points to spend. So you're making like a minor superhero at that point if you
Mm-hmm.
go into that level. And this is another thing I really wanted to do, is because since you're mostly static, you can develop the character in downtime and over time bring things up through use. But this way the game master can just decide, okay, what kind of game am I running? Are these just going to be like, I want to do a thing with just farmers who find themselves in this weird situation and they're just normal Joes. Or if you want, you can like, no, I want to do a crazy mythic hero game where everybody's like Superman.
Okay.
You can run
The,
it
the
like
reason
that
the
if you
reason I
want.
asked is because, okay, say you're like I'm about to do. I'm going to roll my three stats. I'm going to roll uh, two dice three times and put the highest one. Why would I, unless I'm playing something other than uh, some sort of man at arms? Why would I ever think twice about putting my highest stat in body, and then right off the bat, I'm super strong, super fast, super quick, all those things all rolled up into one.
Well, you definitely can do that, but if your main focus is going to be something else, you're going to want to beef something up
Sure,
from one of the other
sure,
stats. So you're
right.
going to have to find the points to do that.
Mm.
So they're going to have to come from somewhere, and then the body stat is the obvious place to start drawing them from. So you might, I don't need to be as strong or as fast.
No, right? Sorry, we were commenting about Travis's comment. Fucking yeah. Um, so let me. I don't have any way to show you my dice, but
we
for
will trust you for the purposes of this demonstration.
yeah. So I got a 9.
Okay, so the first thing we'll start up, we'll do this here. We'll make an exceptional character. So roll three sets of 2d6. So
He says okay.
6 sets altogether. Take the three best.
9, a 2, and an 8. I'm just gonna stick with that. I'm kidding. And then I do it again. 6, 5, and a 10. And then one more, you say?
6 altogether. Take three best.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to stick with the first one, which was 9, 2, and 8. Well, 9, 2, or 8, or 6, 5, and 10.
Oh no, I mean the three best of the total group. So of the 6, any 3.
Oh, any 3. Oh, so I could
Yes.
take the 9, 8, and the 10.
Yes.
Okay, that's even better. 8, 9, 10. So we'll put I'm going to use a pencil for this just in case there's any erasing. That's completely different than the way I thought. So 10 for the body. I want to go 9 spirit and 8 mind. I'm looking at running or playing a rogue, which I always do that because one, I like it, and uh, it gives me a little bit more grounded idea of what the characters are going to be like, as opposed to big burly superheroes, which every fantasy story has that guy. You know what I mean?
Oh,
He may
absolutely.
not.
It's a classic.
He may not start out that way, and very few stories actually make it the rogue or the scoundrel as the focal point of the story. Robin Hood, you could maybe count as one of the early exceptions, but he he was just great at everything. I'm
Yeah, that's one
sorry.
of the reasons I love the Fritz Leiber stories. Just these kind
Same here.
of
Same here.
scoundrels.
Gray Mouser, for the longest time, was my number one hero in fantasy literature. Uh, I don't really know why, but there he was. Okay, so I've got my three stats. Now what?
Okay, now you have a base of 5 character points to spend. Do you have the book in front of you? Because there's a big list of quirks.
Yeah, well, more or less. What
So
page?
there's quirks go up to +1 to +5, meaning they cost 1 to 5, and then there's the negative quirks, which are -1 to -5, which will give you more points to spend on other things.
Okay, what page are the quirks on?
The quirks begin
I got them. I got them.
on page 23.
So, not going to worry about increasing any of the traits. I think they're pretty stunning, actually, on 2 dice. Skills. We'll see if I have any left come back. Uh, since he's a scoundrel, I'm going to go with night vision. That's a one
Uh-huh.
pointer.
Good one.
You can't see. You can't do. Take care, Coco. Okay, let's see. Okay, now with strong climber, that plus
hmm
2 success for climbing. How am I going to determine how well I can climb to begin with before I decide?
It will generally be based. Either it could be a straight roll against your body if it's a very simple thing, like you're climbing a rope.
Hmm.
If you're trying to climb a wall or something, then it would go under athletics,
Which is a skill that I could pick
which is a
later.
skill. Yes.
Okay. Okay, that one's always tempting, but I think my playing style would absolutely negate any point in taking the longevity score. Anybody who knows me knows that regardless of what character I'm running, I'm still going to run headlong into combat. Don't ask me why, but I do. Unless I'm running the magic user, in which case I hide behind the biggest hunk of, of steel and flesh that I can. Okay, I'm definitely going to go with the ambidextrous because, duh. And is there anything you'd recommend that's a 2 point for being a really sneakily
Hmm. For how many points are you looking to spend?
well, I've got three left.
Okay,
No,
you've got 3 left, and you could always take a -1. Once you get into the 3 point, there is nimble. The 4 point version is adroit, and the version is deft. Now, what these are going to do for is at nimble, the 3 pointer, you're going to get a +1 to any action that's like fine manual dexterity, like picking locks, traps, things like that. Sleight of hand, anything of that nature. So that would be basically you make yourself a little more dexterous. That
wait,
could be very useful. If you go all the way up to the level 5 one, the 5 pointer, you're actually going to get a +2 to all that stuff and a +1 in combat, both your offense and
I'm
defense.
just going to go with the 3 point. That still puts me at a -1. Correct.
Ambidextrous is 2. Yes, you're at -1,
So I go
and that
over to
is
the
nimble.
negative quirks. Correct.
Yes, those begin on page 28.
Okay. And since I really don't want to take anything too nasty, deep sleeper, farsighted, night blindness, no. Poor weak climber, weak swimmer, weak voice. Timorous is what?
Timorous, you will be at -1 to morale or fear checks.
Can you describe the word? I'm not. I rarely come across a word I'm not familiar with.
Oh, it's just it means kind of it's like fearful and nervous.
Well, I guess I'll take that one as opposed to the allergy.
Okay, timorous. The man does not want to get into fights if he can avoid it.
Gotcha.
So, so basically, if you ever had to make a fright check or a morale check in
Mm.
combat, like you guys were starting to get trance, you would be at -1 to your spirit trait. So
Yeah.
your spirit trait would effectively be an 8 instead of a 9 in that case.
So maybe that will curb my penchant for doing stupid shit. Everybody laughs all at once. Okay.
Okay, and you're evened out at that point. Did you want to
Yes.
go do
No.
any more, or are you good? Okay, we've got
Playing
your
it safe.
quirks.
Playing it safe.
Okay, now we got to find your secondary traits, which will be page 34. Okay, your movement base, 7 yards per turn plus your body bonus, which is yours is 10.
Yes.
So your 10 yards per turn is your base movement rate. So the 7 plus you have a +3 bonus for
And
that.
how
So
long is the turn?
a turn is 5 seconds.
No. Okay, that's pretty good. Welcome to the show, oh man.
So you basically can your base move is 10 yards per turn for every 5. And then of
Mhm.
course there's different movement rates. There's you can run and jog and swim and all that fun stuff.
Mhm.
So basically the way the with the stats you have, anything you do body base is +3 because that's 3 points over 7. Mind stuff is +1, and anything spirit base is +2. So in this case, like with the morale check for Timorous, your morale checks would be at +1 as opposed to the +2. But like resisting spells or things like that, which are also spirit based, you'd still have the full +2. Okay, so and we got to get your damage points. Okay, now the way this works are for a medium-sized character, which will be, you start out with a base of 6 points. We add twice your body trait value, so that's 20, so you're at 26. We add the trait bonus, which is +3, so you're 29. You did not, and if you take any toughness skills, it'll bring that up. You don't
Mhm.
take any court, you only took the basic level nimble, so there's no bonus for that. So you have 29 damage points to start
Okay.
with. And if you happen to take like the toughness skill as a combat skill at some point, you'll get twice that in additional points. So if you took a level of that, you go up to 31. But for now, your base is 29.
When it comes to point buys of any type, I try to make it so that like the choice ones, that add to your hit points. Let's say
Mhm.
I rather earn those along the way because it does feel after so many decades of playing with hit points going up a level, it is nice to get that little the ability at least
Yeah.
to get a little bit here and there as opposed to you're stuck because I find once you're permanently stuck and this is it you can never go up anymore. Death comes knocking even quicker than it did before
Yeah.
because
Oh, absolutely. And that's a skill that you can train during the course of the game as well. That's something you can
right.
always like leave for
Yeah,
later if you
I
want.
know a lot of people, especially like in Palladium, they buy all or they pick all of the physical skills, so they get that big chunk of hit points, and then it's like, well, there's nowhere to go but down from there.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And trust me, when you're always going to have, let's say, 47 hit points for the entirety of the character, you you will meet your end sooner than later. Just because of that fact, I don't know how that is, but I've seen it time and time again. Okay, I can't get any more physical skills. I can never get any more hit points. Yeah, and now you're dead. Don't know why. It just is.
Okay, so we have your secondary traits. Now we get into background skills. And the first thing we got to do there is determine your social status. Now, there's a lot of ways we could do this. There are basically four methods for determining your social status. You could just assume that any profession you want to go into that you otherwise qualify for, you're of the minimum social status. Like somebody wanted to play a knight, okay, you're a minor noble. You can roll for it. The GM can just set it because okay, I'm
Let's
playing.
roll for it. Let's.
I want to do a
Uh,
roll. Okay,
yeah,
so
yeah, yeah, yeah.
that is page 36. So I need a 3d6 roll.
Oh crap! I only pulled out two. Oh no! All right, 3d6. We get a total of a 6.
6. You are a rural. You were born a rural serf,
Okay.
and you are at a -3 to reaction rolls. Although that's scales with whoever you're dealing with. If you're talking to another serf, they don't care. But if you're dealing with a noble, they're going
Or
to be
pretty much everybody else.
offended.
Nice.
Okay, now we need to pick your set your background skills. Which, see, rural serf. You're going to start out with 1 in athletic, 1 in lore, home region, so you know the area you're from, 1 in outdoor, and you're going to have 2 trade skills. 2 points of trade skills, which can be one thing or multiples. And
Nice.
the
Nice.
example trade skills will be found on page 46. There's like a dozen or so of them listed there. And it's basically, this is a catch-all for anything that's not covered by the main skills, like, agriculture, blacksmithing, calligraphy, all that kind of stuff.
Hmm. Gonna go with bow making and fletching.
Okay.
And believe it or not, I'm gonna go with tailoring.
Tailoring. Interesting. That could be very useful in the field, actually. Especially if you're wearing like leather and it gets all torn up. Okay, so we've got your background skills. Now we got to pick your profession. These start on 51. There's about, I think, 30 in the base game, and then there's 9 more if you add the magics.
Yeah. Wait.
And the way the professions generally work, they fall into 2 categories. There's open and closed professions. Open professions, anybody can go in at any time. You can switch between them as long as you have the trait requirements. The closed professions are things that require very specific training. There's usually higher stat requirements and very often social status requirements, like if you wanted to be a knight or like a courtier or something like that. And if you're going to go into those, you generally have to do that immediately, because most of those, if you don't take it right away, you can't go into later, with certain exceptions. Certain things can lead into others. For
Kind of like
example,
the old Warhammer fantasy role playing.
yes, yeah, very similar. You can go, like, for instance, if you're a knight, and you meet the requirements, so you can just become a courtier or a magistrate
Okay,
or an
so
emissary later.
burglar it is.
Burglar, excellent. Okay, that is a open profession. You body 7, you definitely make that. There's
Mhm.
no training term for that. If it's a closed profession, you get your very first turn is a training term. You get a
Mhm.
couple extra skills. You wind up getting 5 instead of you wind up getting 8 instead of 5 for that very first term.
Okay.
But with the open professions, you can just do whatever. So for each term you're going to go in, you're now 15 years old.
Okay.
Each term will raise you by 5 years. Once you hit 35, you have to start checking to see if your stats degenerate.
Mhm.
Initially, just body. Once you get to 60, you have to start worrying about your
So we'll go
names.
for we'll hope to go for three, making
Okay.
me 25 at the end. Now I see term skills, so I get each of these every 5 years,
Yes, each for
and so that's one slot in each.
in each of those, and you get four skills: athletic or open. You choose between each term. You get one of those. You always get one skullduggery, one stealth, one streetwise, and you get one open one that you can put in anything you want. Oh wait, actually, before we get there, I did skip one thing. Your mind skill is a +1. You get an additional one open skill for that.
Okay,
So make a note. You get one free skill there. And every term you complete, you roll. You want to roll 2d6, 7 or better, with your +1 for your mind skill. And if you make that, you get an additional +1 open for that term.
so I will be getting one the first term.
Okay, so then that will be +2 open. You'll have, and you have those initial skills: the athletic or acrobatic, skullduggery, stealth, and
Now, are each of
streetwise.
these the name of a category of further skills to look at, or just the name of the skill?
They cover a broad range of things.
So I don't have to
For
go looking
example,
up other things.
yeah, for instance, the stealth skill could use for camouflage, hiding in shadows, hiding objects, uh, moving silently, stalking someone, like that, things like that. The streetwise could be used for to find a black market. It could be used for influence as an influence bonus if you're dealing with like commoners in the city. It could be used as like a lore skill for just things in an urban environments, things like that. Like athletics could be used, for example,
Running, jumping, climbing.
running, jumping, swimming, climbing. Acrobatics would be like juggle if you want to juggle, pole vaulting, still walking, stuff like more specialized stuff like that. So they all have a wide range of things. They're fairly general categories. They all have
Okay,
cover a
so
wide range of things.
am I correct in thinking that the first term I have three open skills, and then I'll roll each term after that to see how many?
Yes. So you have three for that one, including the one for your background for the mind bonus,
Okay, let
and
me
then
just get the two rolls out of the way so I could then go to the chart. Missed it on the second term, missed it on the third, so that means a total of two each other additional term.
so that means okay. So you got the three initial, and
Yep.
then you'll just get the five, including one open for each of the additional terms.
Okay.
So if you do, you're going three terms, you
Yes.
said. So you'll wind up getting two more opens, and then all those skills, two more each in those, and picking between athletics or acrobatics on any given turn.
Okay, so I'll go two and one for that. Wait, one. Right. Okay. Wait a minute. Yeah. Yeah. So a total of five open from the three terms.
Uh, yes, all
Okay.
told.
Okay. And that makes it looks like 240 silver.
240 silver, and then all that starting gear there: set of traveling clothes, your robbery clothes,
Yep.
your hood
Yep.
and
Yep.
mask,
Okay. And the open skills are on.
and the general skill list. Did I put that before? No, it's before here. What am I doing? I wrote this damn thing. I should know where that is. The general skill list is on page
40.
40.
Okay. Well, definitely gonna have to take a couple of combat, even though I don't want to.
And some like the combat has like subcategories: missile,
Mm.
melee, siege engines, the toughness, which is basically extra hit points, but it could also be used for like if you're resisting interrogation to avoid getting knocked over, stuff like that, or unarmed combat.
I will take a slot in healing just because.
Always good to know some first aid.
Yeah. 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 Gives me two more. Negotiate, obviously. What are you doing here? I'm supposed to be here. And How much does a horse cost?
Horses will depend very much on the horse. Let me pull that up.
Minimum, bare minimums. If it's out of the question, then to afford, then I wouldn't bother taking the
This is
skill.
right after the equipment. There are 9 breeds of horse. If you wanted to go for a donkey, that's going to cost you 5. A mule's 10. A pony 25. A riding horse, a hobby, is just 50.
All right, then I will take riding, and I'm done.
Okay,
Gotta have a getaway vehicle.
absolutely. Make sure you paint it black so no one sees you.
I paint
The horse
everything
might not be
black.
happy
Have you
though.
not met me? Um, so now I believe, if I'm following along correctly, we do the life events.
Yes. Now these appear starting on 83 as a burglar. For each term you did, so 3 terms, you
Right.
get to roll on one of the appropriate tables. You get to roll on commerce, criminal, or one of the 2 open tables. So 3 rolls on whatever combination of
Commerce,
those tables you
commerce,
want.
criminal, and the open table.
Yeah, there's 2 open tables at the end. You can use
Oh,
either
okay.
of those if you want. Those are high risk, high reward tables.
Yeah, I'm gonna actually. I'm gonna have you roll 2 dice for me on the open table one.
Okay. Let's get out my best player crushing dice. Ah, ah, ah. On table 1, you said?
Table one open.
Daddy needs a new TPK. And we come up with an 8. So you get 1 additional open skill.
Okay. I'm just gonna put it right into Streetwise because I only got that at one. Wait a minute, that can't be
You
right.
should have that at 3. That was a.
Then it will be at 4.
Okay.
Oop. No, that's not right. Yeah, we'll take it in. What did I say? Streetwise, yes. I know a guy. And then the other one, uh, roll me one on criminal.
On criminal. Ah. 4 +1 in either athletic or stealth.
I already have athletic at 3, so I'm going to go with stealth at 4. And I don't even think I wrote that down. How did I not write that down?
Oh no, did I just. Oh, pen cap.
Okay, and then the last one we'll do good old fashioned commerce.
Commerce. Another 4. 1 +1 in either courtier or streetwise. Courtier is basically dealing with noble types, and streetwise is
Nah,
the
streetwise
commoners.
at 5.
Ooh, you are a master at streetwise.
I know everybody. I know a lot of high people in low places.
Ah, ah, ah. Okay, so now you have boons to roll. And these for burglar. So basically, you have 1 for each term you did. So you have 3 rolls as I drop everything on the floor. And you can take your rolls in either armaments, money, or property.
Mm. Well, I definitely.
And these are all 2 through 2d6 rolls.
I'm going to quote Lucy from Peanuts. I never get what I want for Christmas. What's that? Property.
Okay, 2d6.
I'm going to have you roll it again,
Oh, okay.
just so I'm just as surprised as you are.
6. You owned 20 acres of grazing land. Probably some ne'er-do-well scheme you ran on somebody at some point, ran a con, got their property off them.
Nice, nice, nice. I am going to roll once on money because
Oh, and there's also an open table here. I didn't. I neglected to mention.
I,
So
I did see that, but I'm just going to go with money.
okay.
As a matter of fact, I'm going to do it twice because looking at these things, seeing how much money is at stake there, I'm certain I can buy whatever on the other tables other than the quality suits of armor and things like that. So
Oh, okay.
the
So
first money
first
roll
roll.
is a two. No,
Okay, a two.
no. I want you to roll.
Oh, okay.
I was just predicting.
And that is a 10. You get 2,000 in silver. You made a
All
big
right.
score. You can get one of the
And
nice horses now.
yes, yes. And it's got a place to eat.
Okay, in
And
the
the
second roll,
yes.
an 11. Ooh, so you get 10d6 in monthly income from an investment. You have money coming into it. You're actually rolling in cash. You have been a very successful bad boy. Every month you roll a d6 and multiply it by 10, and you get that in silver.
Nice. Nice. I could just retire. I'm already made the big time. Sweet.
Okay. Now, do we have? I believe we are. So we got your bonus skills, term events. You're not at a point where you're going to age. You got your boons, and you are good to go. We have a character.
All right. Now I just got to come up with an oily name, something slippery.
So we got a very, very successful thief here. Man knows everybody. This is a man who knows how to climb into a second. This is an classic second story man. Knows how to talk his way out of trouble and sneak about unseen. Excellent. This is an excellent character.
Nice, Cal. That'll bring all the girls to the yard. Nice. I like it.
See, so it's pretty quick. It doesn't take a long time to make characters at all.
No, I think it was less than, well, right around 20 minutes because that's something that I find that can be discouraging for new players, having to sit around the table watching other people make up a character till it's finally their turn. I highly recommend letting the new guys go first. That way, once they get to like the point I'm in, you can just go here, go shopping, and then by the time they're done, with all that, for the first time, you can get a couple other players done.
Yeah, most of the players have expressed that they have fun making the characters. It's nice and quick. It's not like there's some games like Rollmaster. I don't know if you ever played that or had to make characters in Rollmaster. That is
Worse,
an
worse,
ordeal.
worse than that. I got suckered into space opera.
Same, yeah, same game.
So, I was there for like 2 weeks at the shop making the same character. They kept the lights on for us. Um, just, and I'm actually
And the,
going to buy. I bought Space Opera twice. Both times I've sold it. I'm going to buy it again and just forget I own it this time because I made that mistake with a couple of games, and now like I was lucky. I picked up Superhero 2044. Those of you who don't know, it's the very first superhero role playing game, and at times I've seen it sell for $1,000. It's literally one of the worst pieces of crap.
I've heard that.
It's just god awful. But I sold it. I wish I didn't. Then I managed to pick up a copy for like $20 recently, and it's filed away. I'll never pull it out again, other than to use it as a what not to do. Although the cover is amusing, the back cover is one of the most amusing covers of all times.
I'm very glad we live in an age of PDFs because I'm very happy just having the rules with a lot of games. And there's stuff that like I would have spent thousands and thousands of dollars on games that no, I don't need it printed.
Knock, I was 14 at the time, and I wanted to play Traveler, and the guy said, "Oh, this is Traveler." It wasn't Traveler. It's
Space opera is an exercise in sadomasochism.
apparently Mac Thompson is a big fan of it. Um, I
There
don't
was
know.
another game that was really nutty. It was very obscure. Not a lot of people knew it. Called Universe, which had a very bizarre character creation system. There was this one sister. There was this matrix of terrain types and versus like gravity levels, and you
Oh, I
could
know that
spend
game.
like an
Uh,
hour figuring
I
out how
know that
you're
game.
coming
Oh
up
my
with
god!
your
It was
movements.
actually made by one of the board game companies, right? Like
Yeah,
SPI or TAC Force or
yeah. It was
Task
one of
Force.
them. It was a really
I
obscure
actually
company that
remember
did
that game. Oh my god!
that. The one thing I loved about that game, and I'm going to try to get the star map ahead again. It had like an equatorial star map based off Sol, and those are so hard to find. And they had an accurate one to I think
You know,
50
another
light years
one
out.
you probably might not be familiar with. This one,
I've heard the name. I've never looked at it though.
it's made by Archive, the same company that made miniatures. And believe it or not, Dave Hargrave actually worked on this one as well.
Oh, I
But
remember that picture on the back of the box. I used to see that in Dragon all the time.
it's got one of the most amazing. Uh, you know how like Traveler and other games have like a technological level. At level one, you're this. This one goes up to 20, and some of the technologies that it describes are just mind blowingly, just obviously drug fueled freaking, stoner. Hey man, what if they do this in the future? Kind of. It's just
Put down the Philip K. Dick.
yes, yes. So there you have it, folks. That's how easy it is to make a character. Now I'm assuming that the next time his party needs a slippery bastard, he can pull this guy out, or he can call me and say, "Hey, what are you doing, Shadow? We need a quick cameo appearance or something like that." Um, and I will be happy to oblige. I will also write this up so humans can read it, and you can borrow it if you ever need
Oh
such a.
yeah, I made a copy along as we went.
Oh, okay, even better.
You'll feature prominently as a NPC in our
Yeah,
next
just
game. I'll come
call
up
him
with a name.
slippery something, slippery Jim. Uh,
Slippery Jim.
that's actually, I think, the stainless steel rat's name, or one of his
Oh yeah,
nicknames.
I read those. I think in June. It might have actually been the very end of grammar school. I read my first one. I remember
Uh,
stainless steel rat for
I'm a
president.
I'm a big fan. My friend Justin despises them, but I they were a product of the time, and
Yeah.
not too many people actually back then. He could have easily been uh, partially, uh, kind of, sort of, in a weird way, an inspiration for characters like Han Solo, Larry the
Oh,
Looter. Yeah,
absolutely, absolutely. It's dated as hell. But if you just like look past that, okay, this is what it is. It's like watching like an old 50s sci-fi movie.
Willie
It's like,
Oliver, Larry the
yeah,
Looter.
and they're
It's
hugely fun. They're hugely fun
yeah,
books.
and uh, like for Justin, he hated the slang, which was like right out of Father Knows Best kind of slang. Um, I could see that actually coming back around. You know,
Oh,
in,
absolutely. That stuff gets recycled all the time, especially now that we live in an age where there's like recorded media and generations periodically pick some period out of history
in
that they copy.
like for example, I know a lot of people who say like Cool Cats or Dig It the Most, stuff like that.
Yeah,
That came back with uh, Pulp Fiction, and that took place like in the '80s, ostensibly, from what I gather.
yeah. I
Uh,
will never give up cool beans.
right,
I'll be saying
right,
that to my grave. That may be my last words inscribed to my tombstone.
right. That was a fun one. It had like it makes no sense, but everybody knew. You know, uh, why the hell not? It certainly beats you know like Justin was talking about Sherlock Holmes, overly stuffy, sort of, just relax, just, you know, pull the stick out, relax, and because even now, I mean, with the upper crust of society, uh, they still, or I should say, they have loosened up, leaps and bounds. Look, even in the news, there was a time they would never, ever have allowed you to say big balls on TV in
Oh
that
yeah,
country.
the things they used to get bent out of shape about on television are
I remember
bizarre when you look
Mash's
back at
first,
them.
when they had to have that parental warning that there was going to be some swearing, and it amounted to "son of a bitch."
Hmm. I remember when one of the characters, I think it was Hill Street Blues, the first time they let anyone say shit on television, and it
And then
was this huge thing. They
and
talked
South
about it
Park
for
did a
like
great
weeks.
episode on it.
Oh, that South Park version of that was hysterical with the counter.
Mm-hmm. And now it's not good. Well, I'm pretty sure we're going to hear a lot more profanity in the next 3 years from people that are wealthier than you and I put together, that are supposed to be important somehow. And
Well, I think it's mass media. Just it's kind of like everything's been
you know you,
diluted
you
with
you
everything
can't you
else to
can't
a great
go
extent.
you can't go into any of the UK holdings without hearing the C word like 50 times in an hour.
Yeah, that's bizarre as an American because here that is like the most vile,
That is
disgusting thing you could
that
say.
that is
Oh,
like that is like the N word on steroids, the quickest way to get a woman from zero to red
yeah, but
in
where you
in
go to
our
Australia and like people call their mother that.
holy
It's like, and no one thinks anything of it. Oh, my, yeah, great big like, oh,
wow. I would literally have been shot both by my mother and father had I ever uttered that word during their lifetime.
oh,
They
absolutely.
would have
There,
both
there
just went
was
blam blam blam
nothing
blam
worse you
blam.
could say.
Done a Danny
That's
DeVito right on
hysterical
my
to me.
ass. Yeah, it's it's pretty funny, but yeah, I could see me playing this. I just back when Shauna was around, he and I had many a discussion on using like the Traveler system. That's why it's such a high game in my esteem. What you've done is essentially, create everything I would have asked for in that kind of a game, to use all those ideas to make a fantasy
Yeah,
game that.
it's incredibly versatile. It's very simple, and it's but yeah, it's so much you can do with it. Because that was the thing. The basic rules for Traveler were ridiculously simple. The game was all equipment and ships and scenarios.
Mhm,
Because
mhm.
you just
And
had
no
this
art.
very beautifully simple system. Yeah,
No art.
and
What's that? We don't need art. Use your
occasionally they
imagination.
throw a little line drawing like this big because they had a gap on the page. Whatever. Yeah, I actually that's one of the few games I still possess
Take
all
care,
my books
Cal. I
for.
will see you in a day or two.
Later, Cal.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of the few games that survived the great girlfriend purge of many years ago. I had the most massive collection of RPGs
I am
that
so. Oh,
died in a bad breakup. I had every single MERP source book, and I just on a whim decide to see how much it would cost to replace them. And I got to like 7 grand, wasn't even halfway through, and I just stopped. It's like I don't even want to know. This is just heartbreaking.
that is a tragedy. That I could see putting a contract on a person like that, because I got rid of mine as well, but I only had a couple. I didn't really like the system, and I didn't like the idea of playing in that world because there's nothing I could do that would not ruin it. Knowing my group, and ruin it in my memory every time I wanted to read or watch. Now the movies, I would think back to that, and I'm just like, no, it's just it's better off where it is. Kind of like John Carter, I don't think I could ever do it justice nor
Yeah.
make it as exciting as they made it, or Edgar Rice Burroughs made it for us, with just John Carter as the protagonist, and just leave it as is. Some IPs are better left alone.
It was done right the first time.
Yeah,
There's
there's no
nowhere to
need.
go.
There's nothing I can do. Conan is kind of a little different because he,
Yeah. It's more about the setting with Conan because that is such a part of the character. You can do
yeah.
things with
The,
that,
the,
just not
whereas
involved.
Mars, it's not really that much part. The setting isn't really a big part. It is because it's so over the top. But once you get past that, it all just kind of
Yeah, has anyone tried doing a? I know there was very early on in TSR they did like one of those little thin books. It was almost more of a war game.
yeah. I've actually got it.
Oh, you
Uh,
have that? It got pulled over copyright trouble, right?
I don't know. I think it was just god awful because it was trying to be a war game and a role playing game before they even knew what role playing games were.
Yeah, there's
And
a Boot Hill was a lot like that too. They weren't like sure what they were doing with it.
yeah, and Modifius did a beautiful job of making very expensive, gorgeous to look at, horrible to play John Carter wannabe game that is just I couldn't run it. I could if someone wanted to run that, I would definitely jump in to play it, but it's no. But with Conan, even though Conan, you could say we became this big, great king, blah blah blah. Yeah, and before him, you couldn't run that game before him, or I don't know, 250 years later, and everybody would have forgotten everything about him.
Yeah. Plus, it's a very episodic. There's not this huge grand narrative that you have to worry about like interfering with or negating because it's all basically just stuff he did, on his own for the
I'm
most part.
really this breaks my heart, Mac. Um, I know a guy. I'm just saying, because that's potentially, seven figures right there, right, Mac?
I would love to charge her for that. Unfortunately, I don't think I could prove it in court at this point. But
Now,
yeah, that was a devastating day.
I haven't touched my comic books almost entirely in my son's life. In this last year, I started going through and wanting to read things and stuff like that. And I started watching some videos, and I'm pretty sure I could buy a second and third house, provided they aren't damaged somehow or I forgot to do something, like they're all stuck together, or, from being pressed in a box, that kind of thing. No,
Yeah,
Justin, you
it's
want to
fun to
see it.
go through. Yeah, eBay every now and then, especially like with all the sneeze or don't delayed sneeze, hang fire. Like going
Yeah,
through and see like all the Star Wars toys I had a kid and destroyed. And like
I
had that,
still
had that, had that.
except for my rocket firing Boba Fett, I have almost all of them, and now Jackie has them. I've gone to great lengths. Uh, I've told the story before. When I went to, my dad used to go to the gun shows and sell guns, and I would go to the swap meet. And one day I snuck over to the swap meet. I was like 8 years old, and I should not have made it back from the swap meet, but I did. But I found this guy selling comic books, and I found an Avengers like number 64, and I went to buy it, and he says, "Oh no, it's not cover price." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, so it's less." He's like, "No, it's a lot more. It's actually like 25 cents." And I'm like, why? I didn't understand. It's an old comic book. Why is it worth more? And he explained it to me very nicely, and I happily gave him the quarter, and it's now worth. I'm not even going to say because I looked it up. It's a pretty penny. Let's put it that way. And I learned from that moment on that certain things appreciate in value, and if you take care of them, uh, someday they will buy you a car or something. That you did not expect if you so choose to part with it. And that's why ever since then I've gone all across the country and rarely lost anything other than my own foolishness. when eBay came around, and I'm like, yeah, I don't need that anymore, and sold it and regretted it, and eventually had to buy it back. But live and learn. That's why when I hear these stories of ex girlfriends and things like that, of which I've had a few, and a couple of them have walked off with things they shouldn't, but by and large, I have a Sandman collection of comic books. If you guys know anything about that, thanks to an ex girlfriend, I have a very cool book called 20,000 Years of Fashion that has come in very handy over the years, trying to imagine what people would
Oh
wear in
yeah.
various refugees. Uh, I guarantee she wishes she had that back. So, all of you guys out there, karma does happen. It's just, you know, not for you guys, it's for me. Um, Yeah, I'm pretty sure Mac is just going to get a cease and desist or a restraining order or something like that. Women never, ever, ever have to pay for things like that,
No,
and that
not the nature of the culture, sadly.
no. Well, it's humanity in general. There's nowhere that uh, it's fair or whatever uh, when it comes to split ups on either side, because there are a lot of places where you know it's horrific for women. So, yeah.
It always seems to go one way or the other, doesn't it?
But Justin, I paid this much for them, so whatever I sell them for is all gravy. And I couldn't stand the comic book to begin with. I hated it. I absolutely did. Karma is like fucking
Oh,
George.
ooh.
So Cal leaves, and you decided to take his place in the horrible joke
Didn't
category.
he just get in some trouble for some creepy shit, Boy
Who?
George?
You mean besides breathing?
Well, yeah, obviously there was that.
I not heard. I always thought that
YouTube revenge videos, eh?
I always thought that he that was entirely like an act. Like it was 100% fake kind of thing. But I was wrong.
Yeah, he
In
he
no
was a
words,
weird
Mac.
dude.
We're gonna just hang out for another like 17 minutes, just shooting the shit. If any of you guys have some more questions for him, we're gonna address that. But I like to kind of cut things off at even top of the hour, half of the half of the hour, whatever they call that, just so it looks neater when we ramble on and it's like 2 hours and 17 minutes. I always assume that last 17 minutes is like how did Max put it, the Michigan goodbye or something like that. You know, where they just say goodbye for like an hour.
Oh,
Uh,
the South is real bad for that too. Southerners will say goodbye for days and days if you let them. You ever try to get off one of James's streams real quick if you had something to do?
mm,
I'm thinking about getting an air horn for just that situation.
I've got two, but they're not for that purpose. And then I realized I could end up getting hit with manslaughter charges, so I have to put them away. Uh, Mother-in-law has this habit of waking me up when I take a nap on the couch. Like a lot of times in previous years of high school, Jackie would get up, I put him off to school, and then I'm like, well, shit, I've been up for like 3 hours more than I needed to get him off to school. I want to go take a nap. The next thing I know, someone's in there running the blender, like 8 feet from my head, and I just want to take the air horn and go. Psh. And at her age, that could kill her, so I got to let her do that. Um,
Yeah, I always wanted one for when I remember for some reason when I lived in Pennsylvania, I worked nights, I was constantly getting like sales calls like an hour after I'd go to bed. I very seriously thought about getting an air horn for that because they're all wearing headphones. You can do some real damage.
Nerds has the question of any ring mail, excuse me, or studded leather in your game.
There is no such thing as studded letter. Not only that, but I spell mail properly. Maille. And it's an arming sword, not a long sword. I'm a stickler for that stuff.
Nice. I haven't seen it written like that in God decades.
Yeah,
Seriously.
those are one of those things that always drive me crazy in games. That is not a long
So
sword.
so so why is there no ring mail or studded?
Well, there is like ring armor, but it's just basically crappy mail. Is all
Um,
primitive and crappy mail. But yeah, like a lot of the armor, like studded leather, is not a thing. I think Gary Gygax was just looking at a suit of brigandine and just like, oh, it looks leather with studs on it.
because I'm pretty sure Rob Halford, Rob Halford would argue with you on that one,
Well, he is the exception that proves the rule, isn't he?
and maybe Bruce Dickinson, because those guys wore a shit ton of both. Um, just
The
saying,
protective value of it is remained suspect, mind you.
right? I could see it being a little value if it was worn over something else. Otherwise, it is going to probably leave some marks.
Yeah, goth girls are a more recent develop, Justin, than the Middle Ages. That wasn't really a thing back then, unless you were like in Germany in like the 1500s, and they were all kind of goth girls, I suppose.
Fair
I don't
enough.
think they had
Fair
a
enough.
word for it.
But at the same time, you could always justify that it's your world and there's a whole bunch of things that should have existed sooner, and so I'm making them exist sooner. But I get that you weren't really going that route. Your world, I'm guessing, is very close to Earth.
The campaign I'm running in right now is basically kind of like an alternate history, ninth century Britain.
Mhm.
With the Arthurian, based on the Arthurian mythos. And the conceit of it is that Arthur lived long enough to establish a dynasty, and they're still ruling. They've basically been pushed back into the Cornwall region, and Wales is subservient to them. But the Vikings are showing up. The Angles, Saxons, and Jutes are all there, and they're pushing further and further west, and there's constant conflict between them. And also, I've had there's like a big pagan revival going on in Ireland and parts of Wales and Caerleon, the Cornwall kingdom, and so there's a lot of conflict going on there. So we still have druids and stuff running around, though they're in a minority and they're in a constant war with the Catholic and the Celtic Church is still going on.
So, in your own setting, do you use a lot of the mythological creatures?
So far, we have dealt with a werewolf, some undead stuff, and one particularly interesting undead thing that they have not identified yet. And some of the guys are watching, so I'm not going to out it just yet.
Okay, okay.
But yeah, they are. They're so far they've been kind of the big bads. There hasn't been a lot of like low level stuff like that. Like I'm not really dealing in like orcs and goblins and that kind of thing. But there are like
Yeah,
there may
I
or may not be a dragon surviving under a mountain somewhere.
that's cool. That's cool.
There are
I can
people
see.
summoning demons here and there.
Yeah, if you're going to go that take that tack with a very close to Earth allegory, you don't want to. Once you open that floodgate, it's no
It can get
longer
out of control really
yeah
quickly, and then
really
it just
quick.
turns into D&D.
Yeah, and if you and your group are trying to break away from that, then I could see because I could literally see the game still having a lot of uh, fun aspects to it without a single mythological creature.
Oh yeah,
Personally,
you can run a straight historical game. I've done a few of those, and then of course you could do fantasy games that do like very low magic, like Game of Thrones style kind of thing,
mhm.
where it doesn't really come up a lot. So it's not setting specific. I just give a lot of information on the Middle Ages, so just so it can be used because I think it's been really underexploited in games because it really fantasy games are always Bronze Age with medieval technology the way they're set up.
Hmm. Never thought
Like
about
I
it.
get into like the legal system. There's actually rules for like suing people and taking people to court if you want to do that. I break down like the technology by the different periods and stuff like that. There's tables for seeing what kind of buildings are in what different settlement sizes. So there's a lot of how banking worked back then and stuff. So there's a lot of stuff.
Huh.
The legal system. I have a whole couple pages on the hideous torture methods used in the injustice, which is fun because I'm a big fan of those.
I think he did. He just chose not to. Just so maybe next week or the week after. Would you mind running us through the next book?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I am at your service, sir.
Okay, good. Not gonna lie, I didn't finish it. I did get a healthy way through, but then I got something on my desk that I'm just gonna show a sneak preview of because I'm gonna review it tomorrow. Um,
Oh, nice.
and it's
Oh,
issues.
nice. That's got all of them.
No, there's too many to fit in one book. But it's
Ooh.
got the fur. I think it goes. It's got Savage Tales, and then it goes all the way up to Savage Sword of Conan issue. I want to say 12, with a lot of extra stuff in it. Articles from various sources, an excerpt from the biography of Robert E. Howard. Um, you'll have to wait tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock. I'm going to start. I noticed a big change in the way I did things with today's video. Um, I took some advice and I set it up as a premiere, and I recorded it and I scheduled it for 8 o'clock in the morning this morning. And maybe because it was dealing with the red room and things like that, but because it premiered at 8 o'clock in the morning my time, it got a lot more views, a lot more people interacting, a lot of people making comments and things like that right off the bat compared to a lot of my other videos. So I'm going to start doing that and have them, if I record it, like I'm going to record it tonight after dinner, and I'll schedule it for 8 a.m. tomorrow morning, and my week will be done when it comes to making videos, other than the game we're going to play, but that's not really
Nice.
what's
How
going
many
to.
volumes is that in all total? Are they all done?
I don't know, but it's well over half a dozen. Mind you,
Oh
though,
wow.
this books for 150 bucks.
Oh wow. That's
But
for each volume.
yeah, but the artwork is just freaking gorgeous, black and
Yeah,
white.
I
All the
love the
covers.
Savage Swords. The Conan the Barbarian, like the regular one, I wasn't like a too huge thing, but that really like captures the feel of the Howard stories.
Black and white. Screw that color crap. The covers are nice. Most of them were Frazetta, not all of them, but or Vallejo, back and
Do
forth.
they
And a
include the
couple,
covers in there?
of course,
Oh, it's full color and everything. Oh,
for the
very cool.
covers,
Very cool.
and there's occasionally some little things, with a little bit of color, but for the most part, black and white. Um, John Bashima is just phenomenal. Bernie Wrightson is my favorite artist of all time, but John Mishima it pushed Barry Windsor Smith down like half a dozen notches after going through this. I'm just like, wow. I'd seen his work a lot, but it's always in color. But you take away that color when he was drawing for that, just chef's kiss. But
Yeah, those were gorgeous comics.
and I did not pay even close to a cover price for it. It's still in the shrink wrap. Uh, 3 words for everybody out there: auctions are for suckers, and that's 4 words. You got a free word in there. Um, but yeah, I paid $40 for it, brand new with
Oh,
shipping.
very nice.
Yeah, that guy was. I could hear him cursing all week long until it arrived at my door. You know, he thought he was going to get 100. If you want 100, ask for 100. Don't put it at 99 cents, and then I think you have a right to be pissed off when it didn't sell for what you wanted.
Oh, he just put it in as one of those whatever I get. Oh yeah, yeah. If you got a hard floor, you need to start there.
Oh, thank you, Justin. Thank you.
Oh, cool.
He put the link in there for everybody. He also put some T-shirt. You're welcome to do so. I'm actually going to be doing a line of T-shirts and coffee mugs and stuff like that. Only because I'm tired of drinking out of this Disney cup. Because I got a crunchy ice machine uh, to help with my diet, and I don't want anybody to see that I'm drinking out of a Disney cup.
How expensive are those to set up?
I don't think it costs you anything until you start selling stuff, and then they just take it off the price. Isn't
Oh,
that right,
cool,
Justin?
cool.
So you could put blood of your shirts on. I mean your logo, your cover on T-shirts, coffee mugs, pins, buttons. I've got a where is it, man? Don't tell me.
I might have to do that just to have them myself.
That's exactly what I was saying. Somewhere I've got a Hungar the Star. Oh, here it is. Hungar the Starvarian pin on on Mr. Duck, and
There's
uh,
Hungar merch I must have.
yes, you haven't seen us with the Hungar the Starvarian T-shirts. I've
No,
got
I have
mine right
not
here.
seen this.
I was going to put this one on for my review of the Conan book.
Oh, awesome, awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
I will be hunting that down.
I'll find it. I'll talk to Hungar. I'll give him a call and find out. And I want to make sure he starts making some money because he deserves it. He's a great guy, and you know, I mean, who doesn't want to promote their own crap? It's funny. I wore that shirt into a Walmart, and this guy from some other country, because I could tell from his accent, but I couldn't tell from where. And he saw my shirt, me wearing Hungar shirt. He goes, "Is that you?" I was like, "No, it's not me." In other cases, people have asked me about the shirt, and then I told them, "Go check out Hungar the Starvarian," and I know they didn't, but you got to do what you got.
Heretics.
Pretty much. So let's look at not this week, but the week after. Doing this again on a Thursday. If I don't, wait. Would that be Justin? Would that be? Oh, he's got it right there for you. Would that make it book club night, Justin? If we do it not next week, but the week after? No, wait. Next week is book club, so the week after will be fine because we do a book club meeting every 2 weeks, and I don't want to do that the same thing. So Justin gets another night off, but he really didn't get the night off because look at him doing the heavy lifting with all the heavy links for all this cool merch. So go out there and get yourself some Justin t-shirts and some Hungar coffee mugs and some Shadow and Sun shower curtains. I don't know. Uh,
Yeah,
all that
I
stuff.
recently found on somebody's channel. I got to dig up back where I saw it again. I saw I make a Canada mediocre again hat that I got to start sending to a bunch of people. Tickled my fancy.
It's amazing how many Canadians we know, isn't it?
Yeah, they're everywhere. It's like a plague of Canadians.
And
Although we
everyone,
may be inheriting some if things go the way certain people are thinking.
yeah, I'll believe it when I see it, like all things.
Yeah, I kind of have my
Thanks
doubts
again,
too.
Justin. Uh, but I'm going to say adios. Anything else you want to say before we go, Doc?
Uh, no, I'm good. Just drive through and Amazon if you want the print versions
This
available
was an
now.
absolute pleasure. Uh, I really hope you make the big
There's
time
also
official.
a basic version, which basically is a condensed version of the two books together in
I like
300
that cover. I
pages.
like that cover.
Yeah,
That looks very much like. I swear to God, that looks just like the cover of my Charlemagne book.
they may have used it for that. This was a famous painting from back in the day
I'm
by
gonna
what
go
is the
find
guy's
that. I
name?
think I know where it is. I'm gonna find it, and if it's the same book, I'm gonna.
Yeah, Edmund Leighton. Yeah, the Accolade. It's from like 1901. He did a lot of great medieval and Arthurian paintings.
Thanks, George. And it really was. It was a good stream. I really appreciate you doing this. And like I said, I really hope this sells hotcakes, and I can't wait to see the World Book, so I can steal all kinds of ideas from you. glad you didn't have the headphones on when I said that. So, all right, folks, you guys have yourself a great evening. I'm going to go do some things and then record another video so you guys have something fun to watch when you first wake up. Until then, happy trails.
Later, everybody. Thanks, everybody, for watching.